pro level match on Ice Cream. I can't remember the last time that I've seen that. So welcome back to the Brightworks, everyone, where me and you alike are going to be taking a look at a very interesting match that came across my dashboard. I was very intrigued by what I had to see on this map. Ice Cream, not a common one. Not a very common one, at the very least, for 4v4s, and especially not for some of the best of the best like we've got today. Teddy going to be our red team leader and Armada commander, spawning on the front here in a Santa's hat. This is a little bit of an older replay, as you can tell by the decorations, the festivity decorations. And apparently we're going to be taking a look at, I mean, just a proper high-level game. 39 open skill here for Chad, the pink commander here, the lowest in the lobby. Definitely means we're in for a special treat. Now, Ice Cream, for anybody who's unfamiliar, a map that I believe that I got indirectly nerfed a long time ago, covering a geothermal spot that existed back here at one time, has since been changed, but does contain quite a lot of metal spots. It's a map that typically goes the long haul. It's a map that usually goes the distance, and put into perspective for the pros, this is definitely a bit of a longer match, considering that these guys can get up to T2 around like 16 minutes, and then usually can get, well, before that, but they'll be properly into T2 by 16 minutes, and can get into T3 even sooner, like before the 20-minute mark, almost always. Considering how long this game was, this definitely seemed like it was going to be a really back-and-forth brawl, so I wanted to take a look at it. Our blue team leader here, it's going to be none other than Autism, the blue commander, the Cortex commander here, with a name that is going to trip me up all the time that I'm covering this match. So, you know, forgive me in advance. But anyways, as we move forward here, 58 open skill for our blue and red commanders alike, with tournament winner championship badges as well on top for blue and red as well. Now, Pro Randy also playing in this game here as the northern commander right now for the green team. And it looks like we do also have the Pro Autopilot as in here as well. Autopilot and Shashkrin on the same professional team, or Pro Clan as well, whatever you want to call it. And then rounded out by Chad. We also have Griko Bratko, the Cyan hero in the southern side. And it looks like we do have Praetor as well, the purple commander, rounding out the blue team on the southern side. I have absolutely no idea what's going to go down here today because, as I mentioned, I've only ever seen this map played in 8v8s. I've never seen a 4v4 on this map, and especially not high-level players, like top-tier players. Typically, when this map is played, here's what I usually see. Whenever this map does come up, whatever usually we see is a front line that holds as long as possible. Typically, this northern area where Shashkarin is in is the weak point for this team, and then likewise mirrored across on the other side of the map, where Praetor's at is the weak side on this team. And you can see that that's just because of the amount of metal extractors you have here. Spawning on this position, you have 2 metal extractors, and then another 2, 3, 4, 5. Whereas if you're spawning here, you have 3 mexes, 1, 2, and then you have to go all the way up here for 4 and 5. Means that it's a little bit harder to get that economy up and running and starting, and then also you have these bonus mexes here for this commander as well. Means this is usually the softer side. It's where we see the most pressure usually. Oh, a couple of ticks sneaking through. Nicely done. Just like that, a couple of those ticks managed to make it into the backline. We do have a grunt here for the defense. Ticks probably could have killed the grunt actually if they just focused on it. Running right by, though, and it looks like these ticks are going to head into the backline and start blasting apart the metal extractors, solar panels, wind turbines, laboratories, units, and everything else that they can find, and doing a wonderful job of it. 3 mexes go down, and it looks like we are aiming for a 4th. Little rascal here to try and clean some of this up as well. Oh, a little bit of rascal micro right there. Hey, rascals managed to do it, though, just very barely, but they do manage to blast down 2 of those ticks, having really hard times with the 3rd there, but finally able to take it down. Okay. Early game aggression is looking quite nice here for our blue team. I will say I appreciate how the defense has gone here for the red team. So far on the northern side, not very much damage has been done. A little bit of an engagement, a little bit of a scuffle. On the southern side, that damage might draw out this this play here for this engagement right here for the brown or for the purple commander. My goodness, Brightworks learns colors, huh? No, it's definitely a situation where the purple commander needs the aggression to have an even fight, whereas the hot pink commander can easily lose a couple of units in the early game and still maintain a perfectly normal presence on the field, just because of the eco advantage that these 3 mexes are going to come up. So I think it's a wise tactical decision here for the purple commander to go ahead and apply a little bit of pressure here on the southern side, trying to make sure that none of these defenses, none of these units, none of it comes up and stays up. Incisors here being a threat. commander will push them back. That geothermal starts up real quick right here for Teddy. 4 minutes and 51 seconds into the game. The geothermal is already up and running. Well, not up and running, but it's starting up and running. It's going to be wonderful right now. Orange commander trying to jump on top of a whole bunch of these incisors and grunts that are moving across the map right here. We've got tick and pawn. Good old-fashioned Armada. The Armada bread and butter, if you will. We've seen a lot of really good play. Who was it that, I believe it was Alt F4 Ubivator, showed us some phenomenal tick pawn gameplay in the 1v1 tournament that I casted this last Saturday. That was a whole bunch of fun. The video for that will be on the official Beyond a Reason YouTube channel in case you'd like to go check that out. Please feel free. I believe they're trying to promote more engagement over there. They're trying to put out some more content and put out some more official castings and whatnot. And I'm always thrilled to get the opportunity to do those. And I definitely think you guys should go check out some of those games, because if you're looking for pro level 1v1, it probably doesn't get much better than that tournament. I believe they casted over on the official Twitch as well. A lot of options for getting your fix. T2 already called out right here by the red commander. Looks like we will not have T2 coming up in the backline, at least not yet. The yellow commander just instead focusing more on commanding presence on the front line here. Autopilot trying to set up some LLTs and whatnot. And I think I like that a lot, actually. Trying to use those, try to use that metal on the front line rather than just building up in the back line. A similar story here for the blue team. Well, actually, it's a little bit different, huh? A difference that I hadn't noticed immediately, but is becoming more and more apparent right here, is the fact that the blue team has put all of their resources into the front line. You can see the cyan, the blue, and the green commanders all commanding a frontline presence, whereas the red team has more or less sorted themselves into a frontline and a backline. With the yellow commander in the back right here, now getting some airplanes up into the air. We have shurikens coming up and running, and we're going to be sending those forwards right here. Autopilot has claimed a whole bunch of these units on the, or a whole bunch of these mexes on the front right here that otherwise would have gone to Shashgrin. Now Shashgrin is left in a bit of a tricky situation because all that metal needs to be dealt with. Randy, likewise, has that much economy, but in units on the front line. Nice D-guns right here, though, threatening back those incisors, doing a wonderful job of keeping those light tanks off the front lines. And Shashgrin is going to be in charge of setting up a gigantic front line and trying to hold against a numerically superior enemy. Heavy laser tower coming up and running right here for the hot pink commander. I'm a bit surprised to see that, actually. Going up against the vehicle commander, typically those HLTs, not really what you want to use. They can't outrange the Wolverines. Cortex, I believe, is the Wolverine. That's correct. Still have to double check my unit names every once in a while. The Wolverine, the T1 artillery vehicle, fires a big high arcing shot up into the air and down onto, well, whatever happens to be in its way. Looks like the red commander has gone ahead and gone for T2. The coordination between these two teams is that's such that they are working together on basically every level, from the fundamentals upwards. You can see all their sliders are set down low, so it means that every time one of them reclaims a tremendous amount of resources, it only gets overflowed into the team, not necessarily stored in a vault and kept locked up somewhere and used to bet against. Shurikens here, but there's really just not enough. There's so many incisors available right here, and now the green commander is pushing forward. Autopilot sends reinforcements up to this northern side, but the incisor is looking indomitable. I've definitely gotten my fill of incisors. They were present basically the entire time throughout that entire tournament. They're one of the most quote-unquote well-rounded units in the game. They certainly serve with vigor, and I think nothing highlights that better than the rampage that they're tearing across in the base right now of the orange commander. That's Shashgrin's entire main facility blasted apart by the light laser tanks here, now rolling their way towards the main facilities in the backline here of the red team. More shurikens in the air, but the incisor can actually hit them, and okay, well, if the if there's enough incisor to kill the shuriken, then it's not really an issue. Suddenly, the yellow commander is left in a bit of a weird situation. There's not an answer to deal with all this. Autopilot taking over for Shashgrin. Wow, okay. The orange commander handing over everything and just giving it to the yellow commander to take over. And we're handing it back. A little bit of a back and forth here. Some drama in the pro leagues, as apparently Ostism is moving forward. The blue commander is getting ready to try and step forward right now and do a little bit of damage. We have a beamer turret up and running right now for the red commander, trying to hold on against the front line. And there we go. Those Wolverines are now firing away here. So these units up in front are necessary, because if they step too far back and the Wolverines can push right up against the range of that HLT, then they're going to be able to fire away into the distance and down upon that static defense, basically making it moot. What a pain. Shuriken great for paralyzing all these units, but of course it's only a band-aid on the actual problem, being that there's basically nothing that we can do about this. There we go, yeah. A construction vehicle gonna eat up all these tanks, and you know what? That's 700 metal worth of tanks. I suppose it's worth reclaiming. It's just a little bit of a funky situation right here. Autopilot surrounded by pawns in a precarious situation. Ooh, at the very least, the LLT is helping out a lot, but I think there's just too much. The yellow commander goes down in a thermonuclear explosion. Shuriken too slow to the field. And it means that just like that, what was once the orange base has now been blasted to smithereens. Shashkaran, AFK maybe, has thrown the keyboard across the room, has left the game, is no longer playing, and my goodness, this looks like game. I mean, this is a gigantic advantage right here for the blue team. You can see a 22% advantage for the blue team as they've gotten their T2 out and running and are going to start upgrading those metal extractors, continuing their push, and hopefully taking advantage of whatever is going around over here. Not sure why Shashkaran is not leaving the game, handing over units rather than just resigning. But either way here, it will be our yellow commander autopilot who takes over for the orange. All right. Well, the game is on. T2 is up in the backline right here for the yellow commander. We're going to be slowly but surely expanding as we try and get these mexes up and running. You can see the metal economy is looking quite nice here for the red team, as they're all sharing metal and so overflowing to each other. T2 on the front line are going to be quite nice as well. These hounds are phenomenal for taking down the static defense. They fire a nice little volley of plasma fire that does knock down T1's strategic LLTs in just 3 shots. Makes them very, very effective at tearing through early static defenses, especially with the welder or 2 in front to clear out any of that spam, and they become basically unassailable. Lovely stuff right here. Suddenly a very dangerous army on the field right now from Teddy. Putting in the work right here. Teddy, whoa. Watching us, his fellow commander go down. The hot pink commander has died on the southern side to the overwhelming power of the Brute. The medium tank right here for the Cortex faction. Now pushing forward and doing immense work here on the southern side. Praetor moves forward to reclaim a whole bunch of that wreckage, but the Shuriken jump on the tanks to try and clean all of these up. Some resurrected incisor, as well as a whole bunch of thugs now streaming out of the laboratory right here as a pitbull comes up and online. Nice to see. Little bit of strategic static defense to try and outrange some of this. The Wolverine, I'm actually curious. The Wolverine with a range of 710 versus the Pitbull 730 means just barely the Pitbull will be able to outrange the Wolverines as they come within range. Praetor here with a killer D gun and some killer micro. Hounds here tearing apart the static defenses. Yeah, nicely done. This is exactly where you want to see those hounds put to work here. Firing away at all that static defense that's too expensive for the T1 to kill and trying to harass down these units as well. Finally, Sheldon are hitting the field right here, though, for Ostism, and it means that suddenly the balance of power has shifted. Single rascal in the backline, by the way. Always fun whenever you see one of those rascals chilling in the backline, because you know it's about to go kill something expensive as soon as whoever's in control of it is reminded about it. Not this time as the yellow commander manages to catch it and snipe it, but before that, otherwise it would have been a little bit of a trick. Auto constructors here, there we go, latched onto that T2, and we'll start building that T2 metal extractor, meaning that the yellow economy is about to start jumping forward. Pitbull here is nice for static defense. I like the rattlesnake up on this high ground as well, firing away into the distance is the plan anyways. Hounds moving forward right here from the yellow commander. Were these handed over? They were handed over. Nicely done. Yeah, so that's a proper high-level move. One of those things that's technically perfectly efficient. The first commander who has T2 up and running, the best bet scenario is going to be handing T2 to that commander, or rather handing metal to that commander and allowing them to produce T2 with it, and then having them hand you back the units that they make with all the metal, rather than going into production of your own. Especially considering the yellow commander is focused on fighter planes right now, just trying to build some sort of defensive fighter wall. Meanwhile, the green hero right here, Randy, is going into fighters as well, mostly for shuriken support, but those bombers are very powerful as well. Advanced geothermal, highly explosive. An obvious target, of course. Repeat commanded, move commanded ticks here, drawing out a bunch of the fire from the Sheldons. Lovely stuff. Wasting their time. Always what we want to see. Spybot here does reveal, though, that the rattlesnake is up and coming. Yep, Teddy gonna have to move that rattlesnake backwards as the Arbiter fire their heavy missiles, and the Sheldon blast away from a distance. Ooh, medium tanks way too close right there. Two of them do go down, at the very least revealing that commander, though. A cloak is ordered, and that commander will manage to hide itself. Ooh, going for the D-gun. Boom goes the AGO right alongside the red commander. Just like that, those Sheldon and those Arbiters have done a phenomenal job. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Shuriken and mass over here now, and the fighters are in the air battling it out as well, and it looks like it's going to be the yellow player that comes out on top as far as the air battle is concerned. Incisors every which way, being paralyzed by the Shuriken Blade Wing drones, but they are so numerous. Yeah, just about a million incisor. And they're not great at killing those Shuriken, but when you have enough of them and they can all do, you know, maybe 5-10% damage, it adds up pretty quickly. Autopilot, electing to reclaim the corpse of his previous commander, goes into T2. Going to start pumping out some of those heavy T2 Tiger tanks. Not a bad idea whatsoever, as we do start to continue applying pressure on the southern side. Start to continue. That's a bit of an oxymoron right there, isn't it? Medium tanks still finding value, I would say. The grunt spam right here from the pink commander, providing a steady stream of vision that's allowing some of these longer range units, like the rattlesnake, like the hounds, to fire away a little bit more comfortably, a little bit more accurately. Not that we want to be moving these in right here, necessarily. Grigo Bratko's commander, heavily exposed right there. Oof. Commander down to just 20% HP. Hounds switched into their Gauss fire mode to make them a little bit more accurate over distance. Rattlesnake still firing away. Man, that thing has found its value, hasn't it? Firing away at these medium tanks for a long time. No kills, actually, to this Rattlesnake's name. Is pretty funny, but it's been softening up every single one of these tanks for a long, long time. Pitbull is coming up right here for the yellow commander. Gonna start setting up some of that static defense, and not a second too soon. Suddenly a massive wave of forces is moving forward on the northern side. We do have a couple of Tiger tanks, but really those are going to be not worth too much in the face of this many units. There's simply too many coming. Pitbull here doing a much better job. Doing a tremendous job, actually. Yeah, you know what? Pitbull turret managing to blast down a whole bunch of those incisor and scare off this green army. The plane here reclaiming a whole bunch of this as well. Always cool. Air units for reclaim is something we're seeing more and more often, but it makes a lot of sense. Those air constructors are actually relatively difficult to shoot down as far as ground-based units are concerned anyways. Makes a lot of sense that they would be used for the reclaim, because they're going to be difficult to hit. Unlike Resbots or Webbers or whatnot, which are much easier to target down with your ground units. The trade-off obviously being that they're extremely squishy. Hounds tearing apart T2 wherever they can. Ticks latched on to each and every one of these buildings as well, providing the vision, of course. And as you can see, all the T1 starts to fall. It's the power of T2 is to dismantle the T1. Medium tanks rushing back to the laboratory right here, but the red commander smells blood in the water. Realizes that the laboratory, all the production is basically all based in the same area over here. Moves the hounds into position and tries to snipe it. It's a close call. Hounds are now surrounded entirely by two different armies. The blue commander pushing from the eastern side and the green commander retreating from the west. All firing inwards here on the red army, though. It's buying a critical moment right now, though, for the yellow commander to regroup and push forward. We have a single green constructor right here, apparently going to be targeted. Heavy tanks not able to fire at it, but apparently the hound can. Okay. Alright. We've settled, I would say. Still a gigantic benefit right here for the, advantage rather, for the blue team. I'll say the total metal production bonus of 21%, 215,000 versus 178,000. It's a gigantic difference. T3 can make up the difference, though. Coming up right now for the red commander, and it looks like it's all metal on deck in order for the red commander to push into the T3 laboratory right here. As you can see, everyone overflowing any of the excess metal that they have. The entire team essentially acting like a big bank, which is kind of cool to see. Going to go ahead and sponsor all these earliest T3 units, and we're going to send Razorbacks up north here. Probably a wise investment. There's loads of units up here that are worth trying to use that T3 unit on. The medium tanks, certainly. Also, some of those lighter units, the incisors, certainly going to fall relatively easily to a Razorback. Spybot is detonated. Paralyzing 3 of those heavy tanks, but will it be enough? Another spybot detonation shuts down a hound and 3 more of those heavy tanks, suddenly flipping the odds quite harshly. And just like that, the Yellow Commander is forced into retreat right here. The Razorback is out, though, and it's headed up north. Will it be enough to reinforce this front line and hold it from falling? This humble commentator thinks so. T3 is pretty strong, and as long as there's not enough Sheldon to blast it down in relatively quick succession, just a couple of Razorback can hold a front line essentially independently. Sharpshooters have been clicking away wherever applicable as well. 14 kills on this bad boy. Not bad at all. Blasting apart whatever units that it can. Every single time that it fires that rifle, it gets a huge amount of damage across the field. Well, when it connects anyways. Do we have any pinpointers up and running? Pinpointers always forgotten about. It's kind of a shame because they are very potent on sharpshooters. Essentially extending the range of sharpshooters by quite a significant margin. Simply for the fact that they're capable of suddenly firing out into the radar rather than just firing into line of sight. Tick spam here. Incredibly annoying for both of these teams to deal with. Tick spam does come up for the Yellow Commander on the northern side. Ticks rushing their way through on the southern side here as well, providing a lot of line of sight. Arbiters mismicroed, accidentally stepped too far forward. Uh-oh. Those missile bots do go down. An unfortunate loss right there for the Cyan Commander. They were basically the harassment threat right here that was keeping all of this nice and well moving. Spybot in position. Nice spybot right there. Shuts down 3 more of those tanks. Yeah, we got the tick spam in front here to try and try and detect any of those spybots wherever we find them, but ultimately they're so sneaky. 4 more of those heavy tanks gets paralyzed. Ugh. It hurts. Every time one of those spybots lands, it does hurt. Watching those spybots connect, it's just brutal, and it also allows arbiters to hit them, which of course pack quite a lot of wallop. Heavy tanks do go down. Termites moving forward on this side, firing their little heat ray beams. Not bad. Relatively sturdy, the termites. Actually surprisingly tanky for Spider-Bot. Typically all-terrain bots and vehicles, although those tend to be a little bit lighter in the chassis just by virtue of being able to move around on all-terrain. You have to give up some things, like heavier armor plating. Alright, Razorbacks are out. How are they going to fare against these heavy tanks? Blasting off a tremendous sum of their armor, but at the end of the day, it does still take a while. Even against medium tanks, it still takes a second. Ooh, Spybot connects with the Razorback up north. Spybot paralyzes the Pitbulls down south too. Nicely done. Systematically dismantling the defense on the northern side right here. This is beautifully done right now by the Green Commander. Whoa. Was that Weezer? Something just happened. Sorry, getting used to a new keyboard. I think I hit play and it automatically started playing some music from Spotify. Hopefully that millisecond of a clip doesn't accidentally get this whole video demonetized. Professional Caster 101. Enjoy that. Gunships now in the air for the Yellow Commander. Proper late game we're getting into here. A late game by 23 minutes is hilarious. I remember a time, back in my day, I remember a time when a late game of Beyond No Reason was 60 to 70 minutes long. Now a late game of Beyond No Reason is 40. It means everybody's getting better, and that's pretty horrifying, actually. Pretty horrifying. As someone who farmed his OS back when everyone was quite a lot worse, it's definitely a horrifying prospect. It is cool to see, though. It's awesome to see the community develop, and as more and more people get better and better at the game, the meta changes as well, which is always neat. Pulsar coming up in the midsection here. I love to see this. The Pulsar Rattlesnake creep is a pretty daunting strategy for for Armada commanders. It's devastating for Cortex commanders to go up against because large parts of the Cortex composition rely on being slow and steady, and the Pulsar takes huge advantage of that by firing a continuous beam over time, or rather firing a concentrated beam that lasts for a little while, that does a lot of damage, specifically to big, heavy, slow-moving targets. That being said, just like many other options, it is easily thwarted by tick spam as it tries to fire away at the cheapest of bots. And it looks like we also have a catapult or two actually firing away here as well. Nicely done. Catapult trying at the very least to fire away over here. There we go. Looking the wrong direction, but firing its missiles towards the pulsar. Randy soaking 2 hits from the pulsar. I'm surprised to see it. I feel like pulsars probably should kill a commander in 2 hits. Something weird going on there, certainly. Maybe a glancing shot or something with a laser? I'm not entirely sure. Anyway. Resurrected tanks, Sheldons. We also have a couple more Arbiters mixed into the composition here, and man, those catapults are good too. One of the things about Beyond All Reason is that units are always better than static defense. It's just the way the game is made. Units will always be able to break static defenses. There's rarely a static emplacement that can thwart any kind of unit. Or every kind of unit, I should say. Vanguard here doing a great job firing away into the distance. Laying down the hurt. Capable of doing serious damage too. Not only are they an AoE tool that clears out the lighter chaff, but they also do serious damage to single targets that they concentrate on at the dead center of their blast. Relatively cheap as well, at 3,300 metal. Fairly inexpensive to field a couple of these, and they almost work like mobile static defense. In a lot of ways, you can position these in really key strategic areas, and they will essentially function as a static defense, but obviously one that can be moved, one that can be manipulated, and one that can be repaired, of course, a lot easier. Spybot detonations. Nice spybot detonations right there, paralyzing both of these Vanguard on the southern side. Catapults firing away and making short work of those long-ranged heavy artillery bots. I love the usage right here of the spy bots right now. Randy making massive usage of those spy bots, making sure to get every value out of that T2 army as possible, including but not limited to those spy bots in combination with the T3 and T2 forces that are already at B. The Arbiters especially, obviously meant for hitting static targets, but there's no target more static than a paralyzed unit. Bombers coming up in the back line. I like to check in on the back lines to see what we're up to. Fusion reactor scaling is the name of the game right now for Randy, who's just going into a whole bunch of those fusion reactors and apparently converting the energy somewhere. I don't actually see his E-converters, but maybe just spending it as well? At the very least, that energy production is phenomenal. Going for the fusion reactor scaling is a very cheap, very easy way of increasing your scaling. Shashkarin's still in the game. Shashkarin maybe disconnected. I wonder if that was the issue here. The Orange Commander handed a couple of units right now and told to micro. And there he goes. Yeah, we're prepping for a late game. The Red Commander getting an eco set up right here with a 4-wide constructor array. It's going to be pretty easy for him to build a whole bunch of those advanced fusion reactors up and running. We still have the T3 lab up and running as well, so that's going to start pumping out, or will continue pumping out units in these Vanguard. Man, these Vanguard have gotten value. We just select all the Vanguard here in total. 17 kills between all of them. Actually, a little bit of a surprisingly low number, but I suppose most of those Cortex units at this point are some of the heavier, tankier ones, like the Mammoths, of course. Mammoths and accompanying T3. Banishers doing their job. Banishing any unit that they point their long-ranged aimed or guided missile launcher towards. Beautiful. Watching the Banishers work is a thing of beauty, and probably one of the coolest sounding missiles in the game, too. Just a resoundingly awesome sounding unit. Little bit of an air clash right there. We do have some anti-air up and running in the midsection of the map as well. Bombers coming across. So we're going to use these to... Oh, I wonder if we were going to bomb this composition right here. I feel like we could have dropped these bombs on a couple of targets before heading over towards the base. Not the end of the world, of course, but it is one of those little things that could be improved. Fusion reactors bombed to smithereens. The Yellow Commander moving heavily into the backline here. Another big bombing run. Takes out the belt power right now. Oh, no. The Blue Commander with a huge economy. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Flak turrets doing the very most. Oh, my goodness. I can't believe this base survived. I can't believe none of those bombers got any bombs out of their bomb bay doors. The spam of anti-air towers was sufficient to keep it all alive, and just barely manages to prevent any of those bombers from actually dropping any of their payloads. I think their bombing run here meant that they couldn't bomb here, and that was obviously a way juicier target. With a whopping 8 advanced fusion reactors up and running, this is the sustain of the blue economy. This is what's keeping it all together as juggernauts now start to roll out of the laboratory. Demons have been in production for a while, and now they're, well, finally here. Quite a lot of them as well. 6 in total, 36,000 metal worth of demons firing away at the front lines. A shower of artillery, hellfire, and laser fire. Let's get a shot of these with the catapult missiles arcing over the back. Beautiful. Beautiful to watch those T3 units work. Probably some of the most cinematic. That's why they're T3, really. Forget about their firepower. It's really the fact that they're so cinematic. They're so beautiful. Catapults with a range of 1350 and Vanguard with a range of 1450. Means that, technically speaking, the Vanguard should be in control of this situation. However, without a tick spam of their own, a lot of friendly fire right there. Without a tick spam of their own, the red units are a little bit blind in the face of all this. The frontline static defenses have been blown asunder. Greco Bratko trying desperately to set up a beautiful plasma deflector, an overseer plasma deflector. Trying to get some sort of defense that can actually handle the firepower from those Vanguard. But there really isn't much. Teddy, with a very exposed commander. One of 2 commanders available for the red team makes me a little bit nervous to see it so far in the front line, but I suppose Randy's in a similar situation here. Continuing to scale in the back line. Not the end of the world, but you can see the difference, right? I mean, the amount of advanced fusion reactors here is obvious between these 2 teams. The blue commander continuing to scale continuously. I guess it's a little redundant, isn't it? The blue commander continuing to spend the money on more money. The more money is spent, the more money can be made, and the more money there is that's made, the more money can be spent. Such is the laws of the RTS, but boom goes the red commander. Whole bunch of those demons fall right there as well, but obviously losing the commander hurts, and that commander is very valuable. There's only 1 commander left for the red team, and it's going to be autopilot over here. Wouldn't mind seeing maybe a sneaky Pete thrown down, just to make sure that commander isn't accidentally targeted by anything that should run by. Vanguards and Razorbacks doing the very best that they can, trying to pull apart these Mammoth right here. Mammoth are basically the Cortex-engineered solution to T3. They're designed to be heavy enough to go up against T3 and with enough firepower to eventually outbeat them, out-tank them, outperform them. The Juggernaut has hit the front line. To describe this, the only word that comes to mind is supremacy. The blue team with an overwhelming advantage across the board here with a 44% metal production advantage, 76 energy production, and a 48 overall metal production total advantage. This is a risky situation. One that the red team's going to need some sort of tremendous comeback in order to overcome. I like that the hydraulics of the Juggernaut are exposed. I like to imagine that that's the reason why it's resistant to EMP pulses. From the waist down is all just hydraulics. Cortex engineers went back to basics with that one. They just realized, hey, wait a second. Why are we over-engineering this? Why don't we just go back to big old hydraulic stompers? And we'll go ahead and waltz across the battlefield doing damage under our toes and with our Marge beam. Zoom, zoom. Catapults firing away and hitting the advanced geothermal here. Catapults with a sneaky targeting trick. Basically, if you aim at the top of a hillside from below, you will overshoot some of the missiles and land them far beyond what your normal range would be. Fun little trick of the trade for anybody utilizing any of those missile launching units. But the wash of projectiles is too much. No Titans on the field here for the red commander. An over-reliance on Razorbacks means that there's nothing really heavy enough to deal with all this front line and still be left over afterwards to clean up any of the back. Catapults doing so much carnage. Resbots as well, picking up whatever they can, resurrecting the red commander, in fact. Bringing the total commander count up to, on the red team to above 4, what they started at. Or in otherwise, what we would refer to as a successful hunt. Without phenomenal eco-scaling, without basically just degenerate levels of eco-scaling here, the red team doesn't really stand a chance. Yeah, overwhelming pressure on all sides, and with this Juggernaut still on the field, can't risk the commander going into D-gun it, of course. That one lone commander available here for the red team. Where do they hide it? Oh, yeah, okay, all the way. Autopilot hiding the commander all the way in the corner right here. Without really a commander to D-gun down this earliest Juggernaut, 29,000 metal, there's just not a lot you can do on the front. Bulwark continually blasting away, 88% on that Juggernaut right there. Brings it down by 2%. That Juggernaut's not going anywhere. Static defenses over here, blasted apart easily by the catapults from outside of range. Technically inside of range, but without vision. Pulsar's still trying to find value, as much as they can. Razorbacks cleaning up the front lines here as well. I just don't see how we do it. This demon army on the southern side is looking menacing as well. Razorbacks, pretty good. Obviously, the demon's quite a bit better. Coming in at 6,000 metal versus a Razorback's 3,800. The demons hold superior firepower in every respect. Don't know about their HP value, though. Coming in at 18,000 HP versus a Razorback's 13,303. Oddly specific, but it is what it is. A bit of a Hail Mary here. The Yellow Commander hoping to equalize this game with the gunships. They're misprioritizing certain units on the field. The fighters jump on top of them, easily knocking them out of the air. The Resbots are killed, but aside from that, basically no effect. A few gunships still remain, but at the end of the day, so many of them have fallen out of the sky after that air engagement. With anti-air trucks now rolling forward on the map here as well, there's not a whole lot that the red team can do about the encroaching forces now burning through the eco structures of the red base. Titan's a little bit late to the field here. Titan's a little earlier to blast down these demons a little more efficiently, maybe land a couple more shots on this Juggernaut as well, soften it up, maybe evacuating the commander as well. There were certainly moves that could have been made, but at the end of the day, the blue team had the economic advantage from the outset. And in the game of Beyond All Reason, it really does come down to who can manage to do more damage in the early game and carry that advantage into the late game. GG. The blue team manages to capture victory in this back and forth, well, actually, pretty one-sided game of Beyond All Reason. With the pressure on the northern side, and the orange commander, pardon me, left to hang against an overwhelming economy here of the green commander. It was no doubt that after that massive run-by that swept through the backline right here, the red team was at a major disadvantage, and they were never able to really fully recover. But coupling that with some beautiful spy bot plays, some wonderful T3 play, and a massive swarm of Resbots keeping everything alive, the red team manages, or pardon me, the blue team manages to capture victory today. And my goodness, look at those graphs as well. Thanks a ton for watching, and I sure hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please feel free to like and subscribe. Join the Brightworks community. There's a link down below in the description section as well if you'd like to hop into our Discord, and I sure hope that you do, because that's where all the best replays are submitted, and I hope to see yours here on the channel next. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next game, cast, or handshake, whatever it may be. Peace out, everybody.